What's up, YouTube? I'm here to do my prediction video for UFC 238. Let's start at the bottom. The first fight is Katlyn Chookagian versus Joanne Calderwood, and these are basically two really good strikers going up against each other. They both have decent ground games. I don't think either of them have the best wrestling in terms of being able to get the takedowns. Their takedown defense is definitely much better than their takedown offense, so I think it'll be striking for the whole time. And to me, I feel like Katlyn Chookagian's biggest weakness is she always moves backwards. I thought that she lost that one fight against Alexis Davis, and I think that that's going to hurt her in this fight. I think that they're both going to land about the same amount of shots, but I think because she moves back all the time, Joanne will probably win the rounds just because she's the one moving forward. So I think Joanne wins a 30-27 decision in a pretty fun back-and-forth striking fight. Next, we got Eddie Wineland versus Grigory Pavlova. Pavlova looks like he's decent everywhere, but he just doesn't look amazing. I think Eddie's got better takedown defense and better striking overall. I think Eddie will keep it on the feet and win by knockout. Next is Bevon Lewis versus Darren Stewart, and these are basically just two really good strikers going against each other. I just think Darren Stewart hits harder, and that's what's going to help him in the long run. I think this fight's going to be back and forth the whole time up until Darren Stewart lands that big shot and wins by knockout. Next, we got Zenobia Yan versus Angela Hill, and to me, Angela Hill, she still has the big problem where her ground game isn't super amazing and she can't stuff takedowns against good wrestler chicks. Zenobia Yan, she might not be the greatest fighter ever, but I think that she has the striking and wrestling to kind of just edge out every round in this fight. I don't think this will be the most exciting fight ever, but I think she just slightly outlines Angela on the feet and just hits takedowns when she needs to get the decision. Next, we got Ricardo Lamas versus Calvin Kattar, and if Kattar can keep this on the feet, I think he'll win, but I don't know if he will. I think Ricardo Lamas doesn't get enough credit for his wrestling. I think he will be able to get this to the ground. I don't know if he'll submit Kattar or win by TKO, but I think he'll control enough of the fight to get a decision, so I'm leaning towards Lamas. I say he wins by decision. Next, we got Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Alexa Grasso, and this is pretty much just two pretty good strikers going up against each other. I think Karolina's just the better striker. I don't really see this fight hitting the ground. They both have good takedown defense. Like, a lot of women have good takedown defense, just not great takedown offense. So you see them stuff a lot of takedowns but not get a lot of them. And I just see that happening. I think Karolina keeps on the feet, and I think she's just the better striker. So I think Karolina wins by decision. Next, we got Aljamain Sterling versus Pedro Mahoz, and this is one of those fights where it's basically just who can keep it where, because it's pretty obvious what both these guys want to do. Aljamain Sterling wants to use his longer reach with his arms and legs and faster movement to just strike on the outside the whole time, or get to the ground and not get caught in the guillotine. Vice versa, Pedro Mahoz just wants to close that distance and kind of brawl with him, or land leg kicks because his kicks are really heavy, whether it's to the body or to the legs. And then if Aljamain tries to take to the ground, catch him in the guillotine. It's pretty tough. I think that Aljamain's been looking really good recently. I think he's getting much better managing distance and knowing when to shoot for takedowns and when not to. But on the other hand, Pedro Mahoz, I think, is just the better fighter overall. I think Aljamain's the better grappler and, like I said, the better athlete. But I think the better fighter overall is Pedro Mahoz. I think he's more willing to take shots and land shots and mix it up when he needs to. Like I said, it's 100%. If Aljamain can keep it technical, he'll win. If Pedro Mahoz can make it dirty, he's probably going to finish him. It's really tough. This is probably the closest fight in the whole card, other than like one or two fights on the main event. Like, this whole card, I take that back. Like, this whole card has like really close fights between like top 5 guys. But I'm leaning towards Mahoz. I just prefer his finishing ability over Aljamain's just overall wrestling game. But that's how it's going to be. It's either Aljamain wins by decision or Mahoz wins by finish. But I'm leaning towards Mahoz. I think he gets the finish. Next is Tatiana Suarez versus Nina Asarov. And Nina Asarov's on a good win streak, but I'm not that impressed with her in all honesty. I feel like she's just been able to kind of out-cardio some chicks. And she's not going to be able to do that to Tatiana Suarez. Like, every single fight she won, she lost the first round, and the other chicks just started to get tired. It's like Tatiana Suarez is going to be able to do what those chicks did in the first round, all 3 rounds, and not get tired. She's just going to take Nina down over and over again and probably either win by decision or get like a 3rd round finish. I don't think this fight's going to be very close. I think Tatiana Suarez is going to take her down every round until she gets either a big unanimous decision win or win by finish. So like I said, I got Tatiana Suarez. Next, we got Tai Tuivasa versus Balagoy Iganov, and I don't understand why Aljamain Sterling versus Mahose and Tatiana Suarez versus Nina Asarov, trying to get in the camera, those two fights aren't on the main card instead of Peter Yan versus Jimmy Rivera and Tai Tuivasa versus that guy. It's like you have two top 5 people fighting each other in Mahose and Asarov, and then you got like 11 versus 12, and then 8 versus 9 in the same weight class with the bantamweights. It's 8 versus 9 with Jimmy Rivera and Peter Yan instead of 3 versus 4 with Aljamain Sterling and Pedro Mahose. It makes no fucking sense, and it bothers me every time I see that shit. Either way, Tai Tuivasa versus Belganov. I think Tuivasa is the better striker overall, but we've seen if this fight hits the ground, I think Balagov is gonna just kind of take over. We haven't really seen him try to take fights to the ground, but when Tai Tuivasa was on the ground against fucking what's his face, he couldn't do anything. So I think Balagov is gonna try to take to the ground. I think he's just gonna win pretty easily. So I got Balagov winning by first round sub. Next is Jimmy Rivera versus Peter Yan, and I think this fight's going to go to the distance, and I think Peter Yan's going to get it. I think both these guys have pretty good wrestling, but they don't shoot for a ton of takedowns unless they need to. I don't think either of these guys will be able to hold the other one down either. I think they're both too good at getting back up. So it's pretty much just going to be who lands more strikes, and Jimmy Rivera is kind of like more of a counterpuncher, not a high-volume guy. I think Peter Yan is the opposite. He's a high-volume guy, and, he's been countered and dropped before, but realistically, Jimmy Rivera just doesn't have a ton of knockouts on his record. He doesn't have one-punch finishing power. It's just good timing for the most part. And I think Peter Yan's just going to outvolume him for 3 rounds and get the decision that way. So I got Peter Yan winning by decision. And like I said, it's nothing against Peter Yan and like Tai Tuivasa. They're good fighters, but it's like, you know what I mean? Tatiana Suarez is like number 2, and Nina Asarov's number 3. Why the fuck aren't those 2 fights on the main card? It makes no sense. Next is Tony Ferguson versus Donald Cerrone, and this fight's really tough just because both these guys, like Tony Ferguson's like more boxing heavy and Donald Cerrone's more like a Thai kickboxer, but other than that, like their ground game is pretty similar, and the rest of the way they fight is pretty similar. They throw high volume, they go at each other the whole time, and they try to get the finish. This is probably one of the funnest fights you're ever going to see. I wish it was the main event because I just wish it was 5 rounds, but it's kind of like, I feel like Tony Ferguson can fight slow or fast whenever he wants, and Donald Cerrone kind of always is a slow starter. So I think if Tony's smart, he'll just come at him right away. My biggest fear with Tony is kind of the drama happening outside of his life. I don't know how it's going to affect him mentally. And the other thing is he fights with his hands really low, and Donald Cerrone is really good with his jab, especially catching guys when they come in at it like that. And we've seen Tony Ferguson get dropped a bunch of times. I feel like the only reason he hasn't been submitted was because he wasn't fighting guys with phenomenal back takes like Cerrone does. Like when Cerrone knocks guys down, he takes them back and submits them right away. Like, Pettis is good on the ground, but I wouldn't say he's as good of a back taker as Cerrone. It's really tough because, like I said, I think Tony Ferguson has a really good shot finishing Cerrone right away. But I think the longer this fight goes, the likelier it is Donald Cerrone is going to catch him with a straight shot because of how low Tony keeps his hands. And I know this isn't a fact on the fight, but I just feel like all the shit happening with Tony Ferguson outside the cage is probably not good for him. He probably should have waited a few more months, and because of that, I'm leaning towards Cerrone. I just think he's in the better headspace at this point. And I think it's little shit like that kind of edges fights like these where it's so close. But I'm leaning towards Donald Cerrone. I think he catches him with like a jab or a right straight and then submits him with like a rear naked choke probably in the 2nd or 3rd round. Next, we got Valentina Shevchenko versus Jessica Eye. And Jessica Eye's looked better since she moved down to flyweight, but I still don't think she's super amazing in all honesty. I think in every aspect of this fight, Valentina's better. I think her striking is better, and I think her ground game's like 10 times better at least. I think this fight will be, pretty fun to watch, I guess is the best way to put it, until Valentina like clips her with something or takes her to the ground and just submits her. I don't think their skill level's that close. I mean, Jessica Eye's record was like 2-6 at one. When they were both fighting at 35, and Valentina only lost to Amanda Nunes. And both those fights were super close, so I just feel like Jessica Eye is just going to get dominated in this fight sooner or later. And yeah, so I got Valentina winning by finish probably in the 2nd or 3rd round. Finally, we have Henry Cejudo versus Marlon Moraes, and the UFC's taking a huge gamble on this, because I honestly think what they tried to do with the 125-pound division was they tried to send TJ down there to knock out Cejudo, and then they could have just got rid of the division because they're like, there's no need for it because TJ's just going to move up back to 35. He doesn't need 2 belts. I think they're trying to do the same thing in reverse. And they're playing with fucking fire because Marlon Moraes is just as good as Henry Cejudo is. And he's probably bigger. And he also has really good jiu-jitsu. I'm just saying, like, what if Marlon Moraes wins? Do you think Henry Cejudo is going to want to give up his 125-pound belt? Do you guys remember when Daniel Cormier lost to John Jones, and then John Jones tested positive, and Daniel Cormier said, "Why would I give up the belt when he cheated? A and B, when you fight with the belt around your waist, you make twice as much." Henry Cejudo's not going to give up his belt if he loses this fight at 125. I mean, he's going to be like, "Fuck that! I'm going to defend my belt against the winner of Benavidez and Jussier." So, like I said, the UFC is playing with fire here, and I think they're going to get burned. I think Marlon Moraes is faster and the bigger guy, and his jiu-jitsu is really good. Cejudo could definitely kind of grind us out, but like I said, I think the size is really going to be a big factor in this fight because Marlon Moraes is a pretty big dude for 135. And that's what I see happening. I think Marlon Moraes is either going to catch Cejudo because he's faster with his hands, in my opinion, or he's going to catch him with a guillotine or something. So I got Marlon Moraes winning by finish, and I don't think Cejudo gives up his belt, and we don't see the end of 125. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe.